And now the conclusion.
I want to know what the hell is going on.
3, 2, 1.
Perfect.
Speaking of the bad, we heard you like bullet time, so we put some bullet time in your bullet time.
That is my first note.
Yeah.
5 minutes in, I'm already tired
Yep.
of fucking bullet time. Jesus Christ.
Mine as
Yeah,
well.
that's my first note. It's like, thankfully, they didn't hold that through the entire movie. That's like their big opening
It
set
felt
piece.
like they were going to,
It
though.
really did.
That first 5 minutes,
Right.
I was like, are we just watching the whole movie in slow-mo?
Yeah.
God damn, that was
It's
Right.
literally like,
yo, dog, I heard you like bullet time. So we added some bullet time to your bullet time.
It's egregious, and it's the very opening of the movie,
Yes.
and it makes you sick of bullet time instantly. It's the classic case of this is what audiences want. So here you go, audience. Open your fucking big fat greedy mouths, because we have a big spoonful of bullet time to shove in your gullet.
And you know, that
And that's all you're getting.
And that dovetails really nicely into one of my biggest probably complaint about this movie, and I'm just going to get out of the way now, is it feel like they were indulgent with their CGI usage to their detriment. They didn't
Yes.
need as much as
Yep.
they used. They thought they were adding to scenes. Some of the scenes where they added CGI, I'm like, if somebody just went in and cut that entire segment and just ended where the practical ended, we would have been fine. Looking at the 50 agent fight, for example. If they would just cut that halfway through and had them overpower Neo and he had to do that whole exploding out of the group thing, the whole fight would have been A+, no notes, wonderful job. But instead they decided to take it too far.
Yes.
And
like, I was already...
the bullet time is part of that.
I was already impressed with the fight that you gave me with Neo versus 50 Smiths. I was like, man, this is really fucking good. This is better than I remember. But, you know, all this stuff while I'm watching it, and then I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, that's, here we go. With PS2 graphic Neo, with like, you know, undimpled skin, just that CGI flesh.
And where his sunglasses melt into his eyes and make it look like he's wearing really dark goth eye makeup.
It was like going on a date with somebody that was hot and you had a great time and she's like, you want to come into my place and have some coffee? And you're like, sure. You come in the house and she busts out a blowtorch and you're like, whoa, wait, what are you?
what are we doing here?
None of this.
Why
didn't we just... We could have just made out. That would have been fine.
Yeah, it's really sad.
It was bad. It was bad. And it was already 5 minutes in, hating it, wanting something else to happen. And, which is unfortunate because the fights were actually really well choreographed. And we didn't hit on it too much in the first part, but I mean, we all agreed, like those fights for a lot of it were it was interesting. I don't usually care about fight scenes, and I was caring about these. They were fun to watch.
Yeah, all of the practical shots are very, 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 very good. And like, you know, there's some comment about maybe the fights exist too long on screen in this one. I kind of agree with that. And if you took the bad CGI out, they would probably be the appropriate length.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
They take too long, and there's so much of the movie. Like, I literally was at the end by
fight scene instead of
I was
plot,
like, I'm done with the
sure.
fighting. Can we quit? Yeah, can we just move on and do something? I'm so sick of fight scenes at this point. That fight fatigue is in my bad.
I will save my comments on that till a later category, but I will say that I 100% agree with you, Jamie, and I will expand on that when I get.
All right, well, I have that. That's part of my bad, but I'll save it for your ugly conversation because I'm right there with you on that aspect.
Yeah,
Jamie, let's hear another one from Jamie because we kind of avoided it by saying next segment.
Like I said, my starting off bad was the same as yours. Like, why is this bullet time taking forever? But my second one is the first shot out of the ship. So like when they're in the ship heading into Zion and they show the two pilots piloting the ship and going into Zion, it looks straight out of Star Wars. That looks 100% like we are looking at a Star Wars movie.
Yeah. They're on the bridge of the Millennium Falcon. Yeah. Totally.
And I'm like, wow. And then when Keith, like 2 minutes later, said, does this feel very Star Trek coded? And I was like, no, to me it feels very Star Wars coded.
Mine was because generals and counselors were talking about the right thing to do, and I'm like, this is Star Trek-y.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think there are nods to both.
And I did get it at that point. Yeah, I did get it at that point, and then I was like, oh, yeah, no, there's a Star Trek, and that comes up later, so we'll discuss that part later.
But I will say, too, that if you think about it, when you're looking at it going, here's a cockpit with two pilots separated by a console in the middle, and you've got like a glass encasement that they're in, and we associate that with the Millennium Falcon. And the Millennium Falcon based their cockpit off of some bomber from the 40s or something. You know, like it's always derivative of the next thing. Somebody else watching this, it might be a World War II buff. They might say, "Oh, that's the B-2 or whatever fucking bombers were around for."
But
that,
I think what really got me about it was the fact that the view of the space outside even looked like it was the same level of CGI as the Star Wars movies from the 70s. That's what put it in the bad category.
I heard that.
Ouch.
I heard that side-handed compliment. That was
Yeah.
Hey, the
backhanded, side-handed. You know what I mean?
the visuals of the Star Wars from the 70s were great, so that's a huge compliment to this movie.
They were in the 70s. They were. But when we're shooting this late in our lifetimes, we probably could have improved on it a little bit.
No.
You know what else was big in the 70s? Bushes and herpes. I don't think we want to go back on.
Speaking of bushes and herpes, no bullet time sex. Why?
Because the sex scene was already dragged on. Like, I'm like, if I'm
And awful.
Wouldn't it be funny? Wouldn't bullet time sex be funny and cool, kinda?
if I'm gonna watch
know.
5 minutes of two people having sex, two attracted people having sex, at least give me some nudity or some actual like fucking like. I'm sorry.
You watched 5 minutes of two people's faces while they were pretending to have sex. Is basically what you did.
I'm stealing the mic from you and I'm agreeing with you. But that whole rave scene in general was.
That's my second
God,
note. I wrote the words.
not in my
I
ugly.
wrote the words Zionist Rave Orgy. Which movie? How dare you make me write this movie?
I'm a cis man that is a fan of musicals. And this movie made me cringe when I watched the rave scene. I'm like, I don't want to cringe. Put it this way. I find cringing to be like a negative quality. Like, I don't want to feel that towards anybody. And that whole rave scene, good God, I was just like, please just make it stop, please. I feel like I'm watching, what's the guy from Dodgeball, the white?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I'm watching him on screen for 5 minutes just dancing like, look at me. And I'm just like, no, why did I choose this? Why did I do this to myself?
because they make me sweat my own sweat.
Women want to have sex with my penis.
I'm not gonna lie. A lot of my bad is the very beginning of the movie. So
What do you think Zion like fetishized dirty talk is? It's like, hey, lick my
no.
blow it on my hole.
blow in my cartridge hole.
Yeah, right.
I am shocked.
I'm dirty. Well, let me blow that out for you.
You find a good partner that gets the angle just right. Like if the partner gets the angle wrong, it kind of like grates on your nerves. But if they get it just right, it's like you're Homer with the drool coming out of his Homer's data port.
I'm a little disgusted by that concept. I can't.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
licking data ports. That's well. Imagine they taste like pennies, probably.
I'm sure there's people out there that do it. There's kinks for everybody.
There's a Star Trek connection in this movie, and it's a bad one. Unfortunately, there's a bad Admiral.
Why does your porthole smell like bleach? Sorry. Please continue.
There's a Star Trek connection in this movie. One of the Badmirals from Star Trek Insurrection. I'm looking up the character's name because I don't remember.
Is that where all the Star Treks
name.
stormed the Capitol on January 6th?
Yes, Vice Admiral Doherty is what his name is. The actor's name is Anthony Zerbe.
Stardate
Or Zerba?
January 6th. Insurrection has come to the Capitol.
Not that Insurrection. No, this
okay.
was the Star Trek movie that was just like a glorified episode, and everybody hated it. And I actually kind of enjoyed a lot of it because it just felt like an episode of Star Trek.
You're like, hey, episode of Star Trek. What's the problem, people?
Yeah, and everybody's like, no, it's got to have the Borg, or it's got to be some like galaxy-threatening thing. And I'm like, no, it's an allegory. Anyways. He played the Badmiral, which anybody that's not in the Star Trek, if you can't tell by the name, it just means an admiral that has gone bad. It's a trope in Star Trek movies. Whenever you see an admiral show up, it's like, uh-oh, they're going to do something wrong. It's very uncommon to see an admiral that's actually just a nice person trying to help people. And he was the counselor in this, and it was really hard for me to see him as a good guy. I always thought he was lying to Neo. Even up until the end, I'm just like,
Does he play
He's
a
like,
Vulcan
I
or a
believe in
Romulan?
humanity, and I'm like,
Does he play a Vulcan or a Romulan? Because he has very Vulcan eyebrows. That dude. His face, he would be a good Vulcan.
He looks like a Badmiral. I will link it in chat.
I love that term, by the way.
Yeah, I definitely didn't come up with it, but there's a reason why we use it. There's a picture of him in the Star Trek movie.
You see what I'm saying,
Totally
though?
bad guy.
His heavily arched eyebrows, like, he could have easily played a Vulcan.
Oh, yeah. That's why he's so good at playing a bad guy, and I was not expecting him to be a good guy in this movie at all, and I feel like I gave him the short end of the stick.
Yeah, he's like a sweet old man in this one.
Yeah, he's actually very nice, very cool. All right, who wants to give me another bad? I got 10 more.
All right, well, I have 2 bads left, and we can save those close to the end. Y'all off for a little while. Go ahead.
All right. Why does every shot in the beginning of this movie, probably for the first third of the movie, feel pretentious as fuck? Like, it's just like...
Yeah.
It's all the slow motion. It's all the heavy camera angles. Nothing is simple by any means. It's
right. Yeah.
Yeah, I get you.
It also could be the sunglasses that they wear in every single shot that just adds to like the pretentious douche vibes.
Hey, my grandpa always taught me only 2 kinds of people who wore sunglasses indoors: blind people and assholes.
Right. And I think that added to it, but I was like, it just feels pretentious from go.
I mean, it is. You know, there's no way around that. It's like,
is it that different than the first one though?
Yes.
I think so.
Yes, because
wasn't the first one kind of pretentious?
No, the first one was not pretentious because it wasn't hot shit yet. It had not proved itself.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool because of that. But now it makes it instantly uncool when it's the hot new thing and it's like reveling in itself.
My God.
You know what I mean?
So, even the person that invented like this subculture, because they expanded on their own subculture, they're now kind of a sellout for buying into the system that they created.
Yes, isn't it crazy the way that works? But that is just the way that it is, unfortunately.
Oh my God. It's like you're just riffing on the Matrix. Yeah, we are. We made the Matrix and this is the Matrix 2. We're riffing on the concept.
Old hat, yeah.
What do you mean Ozzy Osbourne came out with another rock album? What do you mean?
But it's like the whole thing with bullet time. Like, you like bullet time, so we gave you tons of bullet time. You liked these shots, and everything just seemed so like overdone and pretentious, and it just really annoyed me. Part
of the reason why we liked these things in the first movie is because most of the movie wasn't done like this. It was just a normal movie with moments that were like, whoa, what did I just see there? Right. In this one, it's just, what am I looking at here? Because you're constantly changing the camera. It's always Dutch angles or upside down or...
Success like that, it's...
spinning in a circle.
It's got to be incredibly hard to not let it go to your head when, like, literally you're, like, the hottest shit in town after your first fucking movie drops.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
And how much pressure were they getting from their executives? Hey, bro, add some more bullet time to this. Yeah. Are you kidding? We already added 7 minutes to this movie. We can get that up to, like, 10, 11 minutes. Nobody will know the difference. We can run the runtime even higher. Who knows what the argument... Maybe the Wachowskis were arguing we'd like to have less bullet time and more conversations between Link and Neo about prophecy. Oh, I would die for that. Hell yeah, I want to see more. That's one of the few times I would rather see people talking a little bit more than some of the shit we saw.
Yep, for sure.
I'll go off and fire off a couple of mine real quick. I had a question. Was Zion located off screen, or did I miss a beat in the story? Because they went from... The whole first movie was we can't give away the location of Zion, and then the second movie is the aliens know, or the robots know where we're at and they're heading for us. That seemed a little bit like the Emperor returned off screen to me. Yeah. I did not appreciate that. The agents, if they really wanted to be quick about their process of getting rid of all of the humans, they just start rounding up all the goths and they would catch them all. Like, not every goth would be a member of the whatever, the resistance, but if you catch all the goths, you will eventually get all of the... Morpheus would be one of the first bus loads of people grabbed. The bowling ball, or the bowling pin noise, I thought that was stupid.
Yeah,
I don't like to hear...
Where was that at? I'd clocked that as well.
It was during the Burley fight where
knocked
Neo
a bunch of them
throws
down,
one of the Agent Smiths into a group of them, and then we hear the bowling pin noise. I'm like, that is... What are we going to hear somebody rolling on the toms when somebody's running away? Are they going to run off of a cliff and then look at the camera and blink twice before they fall? Like, how much are we getting to Looney Tunes with these sound effects? That's not a serious movie that does that. I would expect Blazing Saddles to make that noise, not fucking The Matrix.
That feels like a studio sound guy thing because I on one hand, I understand it because it's like, oh, well, the audience expects to hear that noise when they see a bunch of people knocked down, and it's kind of like mixed in there, but it stands out enough that you're like, it's a fucking bowling pin noise. Like, why did you do that?
Exactly. I was not a fan of that.
Morpheus, his whole speech to Zion, it just felt very evangelical politician, and it made me dislike him a little bit because, like, it just rang too many bells that are very synonymous with things that are going on now that I would not before if it wasn't in the context of the movie.
Oh, you didn't like the speech from everyone's favorite Zionist, huh?
Yeah.
You didn't like
the
that?
Zionist
No, I did
telling
not.
us all about how his God is the right one to follow and will
Right,
lead people to the
exactly.
promised land.
Zion has a right to defend itself.
That's oh God, I am not naming the podcast that. I'm not naming the podcast
No.
that. Oh Jesus Christ. Oh no.
And on top of it being like,
That would be so funny though. I mean, listener, you know what I'm saying. That would be, I'm not going to do it, but that would be hilarious for Zion has a right to defend itself to be the name of the Matrix 2. I'm sorry, Jamie. Go ahead.
yes, not only was like the speech really hard to listen to and it really made me disconnect from Morpheus in general, it was not well done. Like, I have seen so many speeches like that where you're going into a war in a movie and like they like think about Rohan's king in Lord of the
Much
Rings
better.
or Braveheart, or where you like as a viewer you're like, yes, let's go. And I was just like, this is boring. Can we move on?
Well,
we need to get to the Rave.
I have a theory on that. Go ahead. Keith.
I was just gonna say his let's go moment is like, now dance and fuck, you know, like that's the big motivational thing.
Make as much noise as possible.
Do tricks on
Let
it.
them hear you.
So, like, I think part of what makes the difference is when we watch the King Theoden or Aragorn or somebody like that, a lot of their speech is given up close. So it's kind of implied that people are not hearing this or there are magical means that are projecting their voice or something like that. But when they start to scream, their scream has a brutal quality to it, like a gravelly quality to it. Whereas with Lawrence Fishburne, God bless him, he's a great actor and he's wonderful in The Matrix overall. And part of the reason why he's really good in The Matrix is because his up-close, personal, quiet voice is so mesmerizing. It's beautiful like silk. Unfortunately, I feel like when he raises his voice, he loses a lot of his gravitas, and he just sounds like somebody kind of yelling. And they did this scene as if he was actually trying to yell to the back of the room, which I appreciate. But the process, they kind of exposed the actor's voice not being the kind of voice that lends itself well to screaming at the back of the room in a religious froth of zealotry. For some reason, it just didn't land, and I felt like it was just the wrong actor to give that speech or the wrong speech to give or something. You guys kind of nailed it in a different way, but you're absolutely right. That just didn't work for me. I like Morpheus less in this movie because he just becomes a priest. They turned him into a fucking religious fanatic.
I agree.
His whole idea in the first one was breaking out of systems, breaking out of the structure of something, and then he ends up just creating his own structure. Maybe that's the point they're making. But then I have questions about that because this entire trilogy, it feels like, I mean, I don't remember the third movie entirely, but if I remember correctly, this movie is riddled with Messiah allegories. And then for them to literally give you somebody preaching the existence of the Messiah, now you've retroactively turned Morpheus into somebody that, I supported him in that first movie. I believed in him finding the one. Ooh, did I listen to myself? We'll get into that in the ugly.
The Zion control, like, I feel like that's where they ran out of money for the special effects, because that was really poorly done.
That looked really stupid. These people that don't, so they're in the construct is what they're in, right? They're just plugged into the Matrix and they're using a construct. Why wouldn't they just use screens and buttons? That seems a little bit more reliable than creating a virtual reality for them to exist in. I don't know. It just seems like it adds a level of, and why is a bright white room the most efficient way for you to work? It does not seem efficient to me. Like, can we dim the lights in here just a little bit, please?
Can we wear some color? Does everybody have to wear white? Like, it just felt very...
Everything's got to be solid white. Why? I don't know. The director called for it.
It reminds me of a scene in Psych. So there's a scene in Psych where they go to an insane asylum and they're given white suits to wear like that, and everything's covered but their faces. And they're like, color really overstimulates her.
Yeah, well, you got to show that you're a rebel by everybody dressing the same. We know how that's the way that works. I thought it was interesting that there are parts in the story in this one that Neo all of a sudden learned how to use the Force, and it is never referenced how he does it, nor does he do it when it matters. One of my notes.
It's so he's just magical now. Like in real life,
he can use the Force to draw items to himself or anything like that. And when did he do that? How does that happen? And it's never referenced. It's like he never uses it again. He just every once in a while in this movie he would pull an item to himself so he'd have a weapon in his hand. I'm like, oh, okay. So
but more so, just in real life, he can stop Sentinels now. What the fuck is that about? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Part of the mythos of this movie devolves into is a bunch of shit that I don't necessarily understand, and I feel like they haven't given me anything to understand. Just Neo is magic now because
he's the Messiah. Yeah. That's again, we'll get to that in a minute.
But that's part of the Matrix, like the whole concept of there being the one. Okay, this is going to get into my last bad, which is the architect. Okay,
go ahead.
The architect sequence is cool, but at the expense of it just confuses the shit out of me. So what I got this time, I think I understand it more than I ever have, is that this is a cycle that repeats and it's part of the process, the whole one thing, and it's happened 6 times, he says, right? So Morpheus says that Zion has been around for 100 years, so that leads me to believe that we have actually been doing this. This is 600 plus years that the Matrix has been doing this cycle. Is it Neo every time on the cycle? Is it the same person? Is he like
it looked like it because they had all the different videos.
And if you remember in the first movie that they said that they had several permutations even in this cycle too.
Exactly.
So there are all these mini ones too.
Right. And so all those Neos that are on the monitors, well, if there's only been 6 cycles, why are there, it looks like thousands of him there? Is that supposed to be a different one for each time he's gone through? Is that just supposed to be his internal?
No, that's the simulation. That's the architect showing what he is, the different permutations that he is expecting from this conversation.
Okay.
At any moment, those all change because it depends on what I'm reading your body language. I'm reading the facts that have led up to this inevitability.
Okay, that helps with that.
What are the 100 most likely simulations that you're going to do?
But still, there's so many. It instead of answering anything, it offers so many questions that I don't think it even goes on to answer to. Like, is Thomas Anderson always the one? Like, is he regrown, or is it so it's a different one each time? That's the way I took it. Like they're kind of implying that the soul of the original man that broke them out is the same one that keeps breaking out. So like, right off the bat, in order for you to believe this, you have to believe in like the esoteric nature of a soul, or and how it can exit the body and enter other bodies, or it's just his digital. Like we buy in that Smith has injected himself into. It's like the same thing as Agent Smith at this point. Yeah. It's his consciousness.
Well, I don't think they make a distinction between the digital soul versus the biological soul, or if there's what's the difference? It's all electrical waves being transmitted in an enclosed environment that cause sentience.
But still, it feels like it's overcomplicating something, and we'll see how the third one resolves that, but like it feels needlessly confusing to the point where I understand scratching my head going
pretentious,
like the Tim Allen noise, like fucking what is actually happening?
It felt like
here?
His conversation was like it was good exposition, and this time now that I watched it with more adult eyes and I was paying attention to the whole thing, I understood what the architect was saying this time around. However, I got to tell you, listening to him, it felt like somebody wrote a basic speech and put it through a thesaurus and just changed every word that was longer than 4 letters to something more complicated sounding. Like everything he said made sense, but it was the most convoluted way to explain yourself. And don't worry, dear listener, I understand the irony of me railing against somebody else convolutedly bloviating on and on. I understand, I get it, but We hate that which we see of ourselves in others sometimes. But yeah, the architect conversation, it made more sense this time. I appreciated it more. Storytelling wise, it made more sense. But the way he said it was just needlessly long and complicated. Why say many words when few work well? At one point, just a small observation that I thought was stupid, kind of, but he says, everybody's talking about how it's suicide to get on the freeway. It's suicide to get on the freeway. Don't get on the freeway. And then he's like, I'm going to do it. And then he drives on the freeway like a fucking madman. Like he just like barrels off the side, and his normal little Ford Focus is like bouncing on the concrete, slamming its undercarriage and shit. And I'm like, well, yeah, every freeway is suicide. If you drive like that, even in our real world, if somebody drives like that, they might die if they.
Right.
The Merovingian, I was not a fan of his character, hardly at all.
No.
I thought his house looked cool. I thought some of his speeches were a little bit interesting. But his cause and effect speech, the first thing we see out of him, it's so odd to me. Like somebody will make an argument why it's important to the story or it shows motivations or yada, yada. But there's no denying that it's funny as fuck to me. And this is the pie orgasm scene. But it's funny as fuck to me. If you were to just cut that out, it starts with Neo and Morpheus and Trinity walking in the room and Merovingian saying, so what are you here for? Or something like that. And with a little hemming and hawing, eventually somebody says, we need the keymaker. And then he tells this long story about the cause and effect. We lift that out. And then afterwards he just goes, so no, I'm not going to give him to you. And I'm just like, we could have just skipped all of that. They say, we want the keymaker. No, I'm not going to give him to you. And the whole movie would have been fine. But no, we had
I hate to tell you, bud, that's a symptom of the larger movie as a whole. There's a lot of that going on.
Yeah, this whole movie was a MacGuffin side quest, but that kind of leads us into a different column. I think it was bad that at the end of this movie, where we find out that there's a suspect in the betrayal of the aliens getting through their barrier, we put him right next to our version of Jesus. Like Neo is literally like the human's messiah, and they put him in the same room with neither of them being like closed down or anything like that.
I don't think
you put the biggest terrorist in the world.
I don't think he's a
with
suspect.
The person that matters most to your society.
I don't think he's a suspect.
They do. They allude to that at the end.
They say we need to ask him what happened, but they don't.
Are there any witnesses? Yeah, just one, and they both give each other a dirty look. Like, huh? He's like, yeah, we haven't been able to talk to him yet, implying that we're all suspicious that this guy did something fucked up. How did he live? What the fuck is going on here? Maybe they don't know for sure, but they furrow their brow and they look at each other very suspiciously like,
Anyway, lay him next to Jesus. It'll be
said.
fine.
Yeah, put him right next to either way. Like, why? Give Jesus his own room, please.
Oh, hello there, dear listener. I hardly noticed you over all of my coolness. Do you want to be cool too? Well, what would make you incredibly cool is to share our pod with someone that you love or with someone that you hate, depending on how you feel about the podcast.
He's right, we're a solid gift for people you love and hate.
Research has shown that when you share us with your friends and enemies, you feel 100% more satisfied in your life.
I have heard that study. It was a recent study. It was really remarkable work.
You know what else you can do? You could subscribe to us.
Oh my God, is that really?
Oh, that's a huge
subscribe.
It's a huge ask. What a big ask.
It's not really. It's super easy. You just hit the little button. Boom. We show up in your podcaster thingy every single week without you even having to think about it.
Now that you mention it, it is pretty easy. Just hit the subscribe button. Like, how many buttons we hit to bring you this hit content every week?
You're going to be asking them to set it to auto download so that we are just waiting.
You know what? Yeah.
You are so smart.
Cool with that. You know how much work we put into making the least they can do is share it with their friends and hit the download button, subscribe. Why wouldn't you?
We're trying to make it easier for you in the long run.
Yes, we're just trying to help you.
I'm just trying to help you.
I'm sorry, but I don't need your help.
Yes, you do, motherfucker.
Yeah, and while we're tasking you with all these chores, you might as well come yell at us about it on social media. We are on YouTube. We are on Blue Sky, not the bad place. We have a fresh, brand new Insta. We're on Facebook, so you can come share your slop AI images that your grandma sends you with us. We'll be happy to take them and discuss them. We have a Discord where you can come chat and post and interact with us. Tell us how wrong we are about our opinions on movies and post your page-long essays.
Or how very right I am.
I'm waiting for people to tell you how wrong you really are about Rise of Skywalker, but yeah, right now you're sitting easy because nobody's bringing up this huge gap that you have in your logic.
Hey, I hope no one brings up my huge gap.
Dirty.
It's not something that I like to talk about in public.
Well, you picked the wrong hobby to pick up, my friend. We also have a Ko-Fi page, ko-fi.com/screenshare, where you can buy us a coffee, rent us a movie, and a bunch of other stuff too. So, I mean, even if you don't want to spend the money, there are ways you can help us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You can get on and give us a review. You can tell Keith how wrong he is in reviews. You can tell Kelly how wrong he is in reviews. You can tell me how right I am in reviews. You can talk about all of it.
Why don't we spin this positively a little bit? Can we be? Let's try this again. No, it's fine. It's fine.
Because we all know that I'm the one that everybody agrees with. Always, all the time.
It seems to be the case so far. Yeah, really. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but it is. You're not lying.
So, really what you could just do is leave a review that tells everybody how amazing you think our podcast is, and that's why you listen to it every week. We'd love that. We'd love that in participation, and we might even read your review in an upcoming episode.
But if you do want to spend the money, we are totally fine with that. We could use the support. That's why we put these ads in here, to try to drum up a little extra support for this pod that you know and love, that we've been working with you for a year, putting out quality content every week.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the ways you can support us is on ko-fi.com/screenshare, where you can rent us a movie. You can force us to watch a movie and review it. Be prepared. We might not always like it. You can make us read a message that you type out to us. We can play a recorded message. Again, all of these are within reason. We're not going to say anything horrible or mean to anyone in particular, unless it's really, really funny, I guess. And also, if you have a small business or a podcast or something that you want to promote, you can absolutely buy some ad time with us too. So look for us on ko-fi.com/screenshare, and you can find out all about those financial ways that you can help support the pod.
And hey, you know what?
We'll even propose to your future fiance for you if you pay us enough.
Right. It doesn't need to be a business you're advertising. Did you write a poem that you really like? We'll read it. We might snicker a little bit, but
Hey, no, we'll give an honest try to not mock any art that people send us, because that's art is a sacred place for all of us here. So,
and art is always subjective. So just because one person doesn't like it doesn't mean another won't. Keith,
except for the Rise of Skywalker, except for the Rise of Skywalker, which is objectively good.
Oh no! We'll save that for the pod. But thank you all for joining us, and now back to your regular scheduled rambling.
Back to the show.
At one point there, everybody was complaining about power loss because, they couldn't get the generators down. And finally, the whole screen was taken up with a computer screen that said power loss. And it felt like that was a good tagline for this movie, is that the first movie created so much positive momentum, and this movie just lost a lot of that power, unfortunately. But that is the end of my good notes.
Bad notes. Jamie, you got
I have a couple
bad?
more. Oh, yeah, I have a couple more. The ghost forms for the twins, those were so bad. Just so bad.
I like the idea, but I just didn't like them.
The execution.
And it seemed inconsistent, and I don't know.
It just, they were bad CGI thrown in unnecessarily to extend fight scenes that didn't need to be extended.
Just make them vampires. Make them fucking vampires.
Yeah, they already talked about vampires and werewolves. They should have just done that instead of fucking albino Medusas or whatever the fuck is going on there when they're snake hair, green floaty form.
Whatever this thing you got going on here.
Yeah, that's how I would talk to people like that in the Matrix.
Smith, I like this thing you got going on here. These white guys with the locks do not like what the thing you got going on here.
All this, lots of hand motions.
Yeah, just in this general region. All this, not a big fan of.
The
wax on, wax off in front of them.
The Ducati racing down the side of the freeway and the police cars catching up to the Ducati. Not gonna happen. Never gonna happen.
It's the Matrix.
Yeah.
It's the Elven gasoline. It gets them going faster.
I was like, she's got a good lead, and all of a sudden they're like on her. Like, no, police cars don't do those things.
Yeah, honestly, the whole chase scene on the
Yeah.
expressway, that could have, like, there were parts of it that were really cool, but it took a lot longer.
Yes.
They felt really indulgent. Like, we know how to do action scenes. We're going to show you the
Right.
best fucking action scenes you've ever actioned in your whole action.
It was
And
trying to do
it-
its T2 thing again, and it did it a little too much.
Yes.
Mhm.
Somebody needed to rein them in, and they weren't getting reined in because they were at the height of their popularity, and everything was, they were the kings of Hollywood at that time. And somebody needed to be like, and rein some stuff in.
The word indulgent was used early, and I'd say that's a
Yes.
pretty good thing for this. And the entire movie is pretty. It feels indulgent, which is, I mean, I get it, but also like, oh, you shouldn't have done that. Maybe you should have pulled it in a little.
It felt like they were indulgent with the CGI, and they were dependent on shoehorning all these action and CGI scenes in where they didn't need as many. There were so many action scenes in this movie that even though I loved a lot of the combat itself, it wasn't enough to keep it going. And you really, essentially, this whole movie is, well, again, I'll get into that in a different category.
And then my last bad for this, and it's kind of nitpicky, I guess, but this is not that kind of movie, kid. And the ending required too much brain power. Like you have a whole a whole superhero movie that you're putting in front of us, and it's action and it's this and it's that, and it's like, now stop, all action ceases, and we're just going to talk. And
Philosophy.
really, we're going to talk in deep philosophical thoughts, and you need to pay attention.
And I don't know. It felt like, yes, the conversation that they were having was a deep philosophical one. However, they were, again, needlessly complicating what could have been communicated much more simply.
Absolutely.
Basically saying that the problem that we had with humans is that even if we put you in the Matrix, it never quite landed unless there was a way for you to get out. And we had to plan for you getting out. So now we have all these other programs that kind of help you get out. See what I'm saying? I just explained the architect's plan in 2 sentences, much more concisely, and I did it off the cuff. I didn't have a typewriter in front of me and dozens of hours that I could dedicate to this one conversation. And it feels like they milked it for more than it was worth, and it came out dry. And
it puts a big pause in the pacing of the movie. Like it's like a hard stop because you're like, super action,
Yeah, screeching halt.
Yeah.
And the scene itself is so memorable. Neo sitting around and trying to decide what to do, and we can see hundreds of permutations of what Neo is doing around him. That is a classic, wonderful scene. That is brilliant. The imagery, the setting of what they're doing, the story they're telling at that moment is actually really fucking interesting. Again, they just did it in such I keep coming back to it, in an indulgent way that you didn't need to do that. You could have just explained it simply. Part of what made the first movie so brilliant is that Morpheus holds up a goddamn Duracell battery and says, "This is what humans are." He says it so simply with visual aids. You know, like an idiot can watch The Matrix and get an idea of like, whoa, is he saying that this ain't real? The world ain't real?
Well, you know what it sounds like to me is that we are talking about the ugly.
I have a few notes in there too.
I don't have a long list of uglies, but I have a few that are big. So whoever wants to go first.
I mean, maybe this will lead into you. Maybe this will set you up for yours. But it's just like the plot of this movie is almost not there, and it's held together by duct tape and staples stapled to a bunch of overlong bullet time action scenes, and it's kind of like a filler movie. There's more in the third one. The basic plot of this movie is Neo is waiting to hear from the Oracle. He does. The Oracle tells him to go find the Keymaster. He does. The Keymaster gets him to the Architect. And this is a damn near, 3-hour movie?
Yeah.
And that's your whole plot.
2.5 hours?
Yeah, 2.5 hours. And that was your plot.
Yeah.
Why did it take you that long?
You mentioned duct tape, and it makes me think of gaffer tape. And because the reason why is that it felt like this whole thing was held together with MacGuffin tape.
Yep.
I said, back in the day, I used to do alternate titles. The alternate title for this is Matrix: MacGuffins. Because that's all this is. This entire movie is a side quest. We had a first movie that shattered reality and made us see our own world in a new way, and it started making us think, what do you do when you have unlimited potential and power, but inside this little fake world? And then we just got a side quest for 2.5 hours. And I'm like, why do we don't show the aliens finding Zion, but we have to show the inner workings of Neo finding the Keymaster and going to the Merovingian and having one conversation with the Oracle and what
the plot of the game
started with the architect.
The plot of the game where you go and you deal with the nuclear power plant. That's a better, more structured story than this movie.
In the very least, it's a parallel, equally as important plot point.
Yeah.
It did not feel like this movie needed to. If we're going to see a second movie within the Matrix universe, I don't care about this segment of time as much.
Yeah. I gotta agree with you. It's that's my main critique of the entire thing, is it's just kind of there. Hey everybody, look, it's more Matrix. Does it do anything for you? Not really, but it's more of it, and here it is. Okay, well, what am I supposed to do with this? Well, this is gonna wet your whistle for the third one. Really? So you could have just done a better movie and not padded this out? Yeah, but Studio wanted 3, so here we are.
Reminds me of the whole the legend around Back to the Future 3, that the only reason why Back to the Future 2 got made is because the creator wanted to make Back to the Future 3 and they had to use 2 to get to 3.
Right.
Yeah.
And some people are like, well, you can tell 2 sucks, or actually kind of like 2.
I love
except for the fact
I like
that
2 a lot, yeah.
They predicted Donald Trump. I liked all the technology, the 3D shark and the hoverboards. We all wanted a hoverboard, don't you?
Yeah.
all know I'm telling the truth.
Absolutely. We still do.
Jamie, give me one of your...
It starts off with, is any a part of this original? Like we've already hit on. There's so much homage to this movie and that movie. I have Star Trek, Star Wars, Alien, RM. I don't know what RM is short for, but yes, there was all these different ones that I saw that I was just like, I see little bits and pieces that are pretty much just straight from other movies. And I find that a little bit off-putting. If it's so bad that it calls out to me like that, that means it's done too much.
Mm-hmm. I can see what you're saying. Like I said, I saw a lot of it. I saw more of it as homages, but even then, like, I don't need you to beef up your movie from 90 minutes to 150 minutes just so that you can add
your homage.
45 minutes of homages. I can just go watch fucking Superman if I want to watch that. I can go watch Star Trek if I want to watch that.
It's not this movie's fault, but just the fact that I have to hear everyone talk about Zion so much at this particular time on planet Earth it sucks. My ears don't want it. Please stop. Help me.
The fact that to them Zion is the last bastion of humanity surrounded by a world of
yes.
And I'm just
I gotta hear it.
I don't want to even as you can tell, dear listener, we don't avoid talking about this topic, but that's not the point in this podcast. I mean, anybody to listen to this can tell what our feelings are. But this is supposed to be fun. That's why anytime we brush up against these kind of terms, I'm like, fuck you, movie. Like, you couldn't have called it like Cavalry or,
Camelot.
Home Base, Alpha Base. It's anything. You had to call it fucking
Alpha Omega, something, anything, please. Just not named after a place that's very controversial and doing some bad things right now. Speaking of messiahs and doing bad things, I kind of been touching on this a few times, but messiah allegories are wearing very thin for me in this movie. This trilogy is a huge messiah allegory, and the message that this movie seems to be building up to, and let's see how it ends. I don't know. I don't remember exactly the philosophical endings of the Matrix trilogy to begin with, and I'm looking forward to finding out. The way it's looking right now is like the inverse of Dune, in that we see a messiah rise from nothing, rags to riches, and become the most powerful entity in the universe kind of thing. And he may have to sacrifice himself to save everybody or whatever. But what the message is the messiah is pretty much right. And he's perfect. And we should all follow him. And that I don't like. I don't like stories that the point of the story is you should follow the messianic culture icon that seems perfect from afar, you should follow him, because really he's right. And if you want to save humanity, you should buy into his religion and practice his religion and do what he tells you to. I'm like, cults get started that way. And I am not a fan that this movie seems to be approaching that. Like, again, minor spoiler for Dune, if you care enough to not know anything about Dune going in, but Paul Atreides ends up becoming a messianic figurehead to a lot of people, and kind of the point that Frank Herbert was trying to make is that these are dangerous things to play with because they can turn evil very quickly and people get hurt in the process and yada yada. So the fact that the Matrix trilogy, a trilogy that seems to be focused on we're deep, we're pretentious, we're very artistic, we're going deep into what humanity is, and it's allegories for all these different things, somehow is also saying, but if there's a religious figurehead that is really attractive or you really agree with some of their radical ideas, it's good to get involved in their religion and sacrifice for yourself to make their life better and to further
It's
humanity.
the youth pastor turning his hat backwards and sitting backwards on the chair saying, hey kids, Jesus is pretty cool too, you know? That's...
Yeah. You know, this one time Jesus was hanging out with his bros, we'll call them disciples.
And he flew through the streets and all the cars were getting sucked in his wake. It was awesome. Anyway,
can you imagine turning 5 fishes into a meal for thousands? Let me tell you a story, kids.
Right. Jesus is good and cool is the philosophy of the Matrix 2.
I was in a play once where I was supposed to be playing a teenager with a bunch of other younger people, and one of the reviews said that Kelly was charming, but he had cool camp counselor vibes going on. And I was like, oh, thank you. Like, that's a compliment, I guess, technically.
Spinning CGI Neo is I had to write it in my ugly. I know we already talked about it, but just that's ugly, man. It's like
it's in my ugly
bendy
too.
floppy arms and legs. It's just
CGI dependence. Their CGI at some parts was fucking horrible. You're right. It's worse than PS2 graphics.
Yeah.
And it's not even the fact that it's that bad. Like, I could forgive that potentially. It's the fact that I was so impressed and enjoying and really like, wow, this is a fucking great fight scene. They've stepped up their game, and then they hit you in the face with that, and it's like all momentum, all goodwill, all the air is sucked out of the room, and I'm just like,
Neo turns into a cartoon helicopter and flies away from his fucking... That's literally what fucking happens. He turns into a goddamn cartoon character and flies the fuck away.
Is that video of the little
so
girl
stupid.
that pulls the fucking ripcord on the toy and it flies into the
fireplace? Yep.
That's fucking Neo. Yeah.
He flew too close to the sun.
He flew himself into my PS2, apparently, is what he did. It's unforgivable that it takes me out of that moment. That's my main, aside from the other thing, that's my main ugly, is because it ruined the good time I was having. I was on board movie. I was fully on board and like actually impressed by you, and then you threw fucking helicopter dick Neo at me and it just ruined it.
I have to, like, in that same scene, in the, like, right when the 50 Smiths start coming in, there's literally a point where he, like, hits one of the Smiths, and that one guy goes, like, flying off into nothingness, like anti-gravity, and it made me laugh because it was so...
He returned to his home planet.
That was the first time that, like, they were showing how much power he had, but it just didn't fit in that portion because he's hitting, like, 3 people at the same time, but that one guy just went, like, away. And it made me laugh out loud and took me out of it. Then
Inconsistent. The physics just didn't feel real. Like it felt like a DC movie, and that's one of the worst insults I can give the physics in a movie. I'm going to throw out there that having white guys with locks is a bad trend to set. I don't know if any white guys watching this thought, "Yo, bro, I want to have a hairstyle like that."
I'm sure they did. Yep.
Just don't. Don't, like, you want to braid your hair, you want to do different things with it, but I under fairly decent authority from what I've read, that actually doing locks is a bad idea because it's very, very entwined with black culture, and that's not our thing. So just don't do it. And this movie having 2 of their primary, but maybe that's because they were bad guys. They were like, here are bad guys. Look, here are a bunch of white guys that are wearing locks. Go beat them up. Look how evil
I'm pretty
they
sure.
are.
I'm pretty sure Lana Wachowski has locks too. So
Yeah.
Yeah, which you probably shouldn't be doing that. I mean, that's not my conversation to have. I'm not trying to be offended for somebody else, but I would urge anybody that is questioning this topic to look up, research some, and specifically listen to Black authors and Black people that have had these conversations for years, and that way nobody has to repeat themselves. So, Andre Gide once wrote, or I don't know, that's how you say his name, but he once wrote, "Everything has already been explained, but it's been forgotten, so it must be explained again."
I like that.
Yep. The cave party crowd shot where they're jumping around, like copy paste PS2 graphics again, where they don't even look like humans. They're just like little blobs bopping up and down.
It's like the crowd in like Madden 2008 or whatever.
I will say, okay, as somebody I have been on stage and looking at like thousands of people in the audience before, and it is a weird phenomenon that happens is if you're in the stage lights and you're looking at a crowd, it does just look like fucking bumps. Like it's not real people anymore. I don't know what number this happens, but like there's a number where it's like maybe 100 people or something, but they stop becoming individuals anymore, and they're just bumps in front of you with with cameras in their hands. So you still got to pay attention.
Right, but we were zooming over them like in a drone, if you will, and they still looked like bumps. And then the completely unnecessary and unsexy sex scene.
Oh, it was awkward to watch. I felt like I was sitting in a room with my parents, and my parents are both dead. So
Maybe you were?
It was weird sitting in a room by myself and feeling awkward. Why should I feel awkward? Oh, that's right, because these people that are trying to simulate sex are doing it kind of awkwardly on the screen.
What if your parents, their ghosts got together and they're like, "Let's go visit Kelly. You know how he can see ghosts all the time," and that's the moment
they
chose to come in. They literally were behind you.
I've succeeded at life, because there are many worse moments they could have walked in on that be a little bit harder to explain. But no, and you got to remember too that the highlight of their sex story, or maybe not the highlight, but how that little mini story ends, is they're having passionate love in private while everybody else is celebrating humanity in a different way. And right as he's about to come, at least how I'm reading the story, right as he's about to come, he starts thinking about his wife dying in his dreams, so he can't come. And now this sexual experience has a sad note to it because the man couldn't come. Her having an orgasm was not even...
No.
It wasn't even a topic of conversation. But his was what turned the story to a sad note. You could probably, the music probably went from a major to a minor right when he got that furrowed brow, like, oh, it's not going to happen right now.
Should have been a slide whistle.
Like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And
then he didn't even get her the fucking orgasm dessert later. Like, he could have at least gotten her the orgasm dessert.
Like, if you're at that point, you're like, I'm probably not going to finish. Don't just duck out. Like, help your partner for a minute. Like, don't be a selfish prick. Like, what can I do for you?
Her?
Anyways.
Slide whistle noise.
Yeah, bowling pin noise.
Christ.
And, like, I didn't like Tank dying off screen either. Like, I get sometimes you have to make things happen, but that he died, not that he was arrested.
Yeah. It sucks that it sucks that like, I don't know. I want to like side with the actor against a major studio kind of thing, but threatening the Wachowskis, and like they said that there was a very big verbal falling out between specifically the Wachowskis.
Yeah,
and him.
So that's
like,
why he's dead.
He's
dead off screen. Now it's like, fuck you. Your character has been listed as dead. Like, you can't come back.
Yeah.
Right.
You fucked
and
up.
it makes me wonder, like, especially with the fact that these are two trans people, like they can be a target of a lot of hate, especially 2003 or whenever this movie was made. So, or 2001. So, maybe he got a little, I don't know. And I looked a little bit into it, but nothing I could see that there was any,
details.
Wasn't at least not any blunt transphobia that I saw when I did.
So didn't they not transition until after the third one anyway?
I think so, but you know, I mean, there might have been some comments about feminine qualities and shit.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like people glom onto anything that's not
Right.
traditional, and they can be dickheads.
Yeah.
No, never. People are not dickheads at all.
My last ugly is just basically that this is a 90-minute movie. If you just speed up all the slow motion bits, there is so much slow motion that it feels like I'm just constantly doing the wheel with my finger in front of me. Like, come on. What the fuck? The the microcosm of the first 5 minutes. If you watch the first 5 minutes of this movie, you've kind of seen the entire fucking movie and you can kind of skip it. Watch the first 5 minutes of this movie and then watch the architect conversation and pause it so you can understand what the fuck he's saying. And you've got the entire whole premise of this movie. Everything else is just fucking fluff. Well, and Agent Smith has some pretty cool bits too. But yeah, it's just all the slow motion bits. It felt like it was way too much and it turned ugly after, I don't know, 45 minutes being in the movie, and I'm already fucking tired of it. And they just keep doing it, and they keep doing it, and they keep doing it, and they keep... Jesus Christ, can you speed up?
Indulgent.
Anyway.
Pretentious.
Yeah. Any other uglies?
We already discussed the GTA 4, or GTA 4 fight effects is how I put it. You guys put PS2.
Yeah, well, it's same. It's that same generation. Maybe even PS2 is a little mean. Maybe it's more PS3. But yeah, like right around that era where things looked pretty human, pretty close, but definitely not. Lord of the Rings at least kept a lot of their effects from far, far away.
Yeah.
Matrix got up close to Neo's face, and I'm like, why did you give me this close up that is clearly it barely isn't reminiscent of it's.
There's no texture.
What is that, LaCroix? This is the LaCroix of a person's picture. Like it has the hint, a slight scent of. It's like Neo was in this room and left, and I can smell his shoes.
My favorite expression about LaCroix or LaCroix. I don't know if you have to be super French to
I know
pronounce
friends
it.
that call it LaCroix and LaCroix.
Yeah, LaCroix.
And I'm like, Jesus Christ, just don't speak anything that has an X from here out.
LaCroix. Well, anyway, LaCroix, they said it tastes like water from the river where raccoons first learned how to wash fruit. Is what I heard it described as. And I couldn't stop laughing, and that's perfect,
That's Neo in some of these scenes. Hey, God bless people that enjoy it, but I always kind of look at people a little bit side-eyed, like, really? Like, is that all you had left in your fridge? Did somebody leave that behind? Or, wait, you spent money on that?
They leave that behind. Yeah.
Money has different value in your life. I prefer my water to have a little bit more flavor than that, but anyway. So yeah, is that all of our uglies?
I think so.
Hey friends, Editing Kelly here. Jamie's audio got kind of messed up at this part, so she doesn't have anything for the next few minutes. I'm going to play a little jazz, so bear with me, give me a little leeway, and I think we'll have some fun with it. But yeah, she'll be back in a minute. All right, so we talked about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and now it's time to ask ourselves 3 preliminary questions, and the 3 questions, they start with, if there was a promotional popcorn bucket for this movie, what would the marketing look like? What would it look like? What would be the popcorn bucket?
Oh man, this is a tough one because it's just, I don't know, a fist, a foot. This is just it's just a fucking fight scene.
Oh, like a Minecraft head that looks like Neo because that's about as close as they get with their CGI. Yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe more seriously, like a monochrome screen, that says like, start, go to 10 or something, and it's got a little line implying that you could type on it.
Yeah, I guess that there's not any good iconography in this movie, really. I think it's just the same thing that you said last time, right? Like a shiny leather popcorn bucket.
Oh God, I would have bought one of those so quickly. I would have been like, no butter in it. I don't want to clean it out. Don't worry, it's gonna get oil on it later.
Why do you do this?
All right, our second question is, if you were to take the entire cast of this movie and replace them with Muppets, but kept one human actor still, who would the human actor be?
The architect.
That's what I was thinking too. I just want to see I want to see the Muppet sex scene between Kermit and Miss Piggy while the rest of the Muppets are all dancing in the other room. Like, that rave scene would immediately become one of my favorite scenes. Animal. That's all I got to say is imagine Animal in the rave scene. That would have worth the price of admission by itself.
Zion!
Drums!
Yeah, it starts with him just chanting drugs, and then it turns into Zion, and then it turns into Zion drugs! Zion drugs! Our final question in this series is, what is your most valuable part or person? Could be the character, could be the actor that plays the character, could be something as esoteric as the set design, but who is your most valuable part of this show?
Depends on who you're asking.
Jamie.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Agent Smith is the saving grace of this movie. I'm actually interested in, like we said, everything he's got going on there. It's all escaping to the real world and multiplying himself, and he's no longer an agent of the Matrix. He's doing his own thing. I'm here for it, and it's like the best part of the movie. What about you, Kelly?
I don't know if we've ever done this before, if we've ever all three of us agreed, but I absolutely agree that it's Agent Smith. There's no denying that not only does Hugo Weaving do a great job at playing this really complex part that is both complete dry news broadcaster Walter Cronkite person, but also like a vindictive, evil
Intimidating.
Computer. Yeah, like he gets those crazy eyes and everything gets all bloodshot around it. Reminds me, Star Trek fans will remember Gowron and his crazy eyes. Like he does a great job with it. And you couple that with his story is the most compelling story in the second movie. The second movie, like we've said, is just a big MacGuffin where nothing really matters aside from the architect conversation and what Agent Smith is going through and the fact that he's like turning himself into a virus, but a self-aware virus. So it's almost like a hive mind virus. Like,
yeah.
What is he even becoming? I don't know. Do we even want to quash that entire life form? Because also the Agent Smith seems to like have like a brotherhood with Neo where he respects him and cares for him and wants to be his ally in a sense. He would rather Neo fight with him almost.
And also just his like experimentalness, like he's sending a Smith out into the real, who knows what that fucking guy's gonna do, but it's like, there you go, buddy, there's one of me out in the real world, and now we're replicating here in the Matrix. It's just like,
one of the things that he loves about himself is there's so many of him.
Yep.
And it's not overwhelming humor, but it's still very tongue-in-cheek and fun. It lightens up some of the scenes from being overly pretentious, which this movie definitely leans into at times, in our opinion. And the final question that I would have would be, when it comes to The Matrix Reloaded, did you like it? And would you give it a thumbs up?
You really want to do this? Here. Now, yes. Okay. Okay. Let's do it.
I'm not sure how to answer this. Like, I didn't, like I said, it's what did we say? The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference.
Yeah.
I'm very indifferent to this movie. Cause like, I want to give it,
Yep.
I give it a thumbs down as a movie, like on its own as a movie. But I remember liking, it's like reverse, cause I remember hating the third one and liking this one okay when they first came out. The last time I watched it, I actually really liked the third one, but it's like you have to get through this one to get to the third one. So it's feeling like I'm maintaining that. So I think I'm giving this one a thumbs down. Like, if you're gonna watch the trilogy, you gotta watch it. Don't skip it. But it's got to be the weakest. And we'll see if that holds up. But thumbs down for now from me. What about you, Kelly?
I'm going to have similar thoughts that this is one of those movies where it is a bad movie with good moments. There are some good qualities in this bad movie. So overall, I'm going to give it a thumbs down. Not only is it a bad movie on its own, but would it get an even stronger disapproval from me if I look at it as a part of the Matrix trilogy, because
yes,
it has made things worse. It made Morpheus worse. It made Neo less interesting. The one thing that it did do is it increased my interest in Agent Smith, but we had to sacrifice a lot of other stuff that I held to be interesting mysteries, or I had invented different headcanon than what I eventually saw, or I don't know. I feel like if somebody said the only Matrix movie I saw was Matrix 1 and then I stopped, my current opinion is I would tell them, don't bother yet.
Don't proceed.
Stop where you're at. There's some media that do that, like Heroes, the TV show. The first season is a completely bow-tied, closed story. It is some of the best television I've ever seen in my life. It is incredible. And I don't recommend anybody go on past season 1. You don't need anything else, and the rest of it is all shit anyways. So, what about you, Jamie?
Yeah, I also have to go with a thumbs down here.
You suck.
It just is not anything that is worth seeing. Even, And I'll go against what Keith said. I don't think you have to get through it to get to the third one. I think that you could just read a synopsis of this.
You could.
And skip the 2.5 hours of torture and pretension.
Yeah.
And you'd be, like, maybe just watch the architect scene. Again, it's been a while since I've seen 3 as well, so I maybe you don't even need to do that. It's just not a good movie.
Yeah, and it feels like maybe you could have taken the architect scene and truncated it a bit and jarred it into the beginning of the third movie, and then just copied and pasted that whole thing into the second movie. And then when we see Matrix 4, I remember liking Matrix 4, so if that's still moving things in a positive direction, that could be the ending of the trilogy there. But this just felt largely unnecessary.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right. Well, those were our thoughts that got a little extended. I guess we'll see how this turns out in post. If it's going to be 1 or 2 or what, I don't know. Did we miss anything? Any other side notes? Am I missing anything in my notes?
The one thing that I will say, side note, is that you had talked about how timeless this movie was because of the way they said it. And you're 100% right. And I think that still carries forward to this movie, except for Carrie-Anne Moss's boots, which are very, very early 2000s with the big, thick, chunky heel.
Yeah, you would think that somebody that's involving themselves with a lot of action would wear boots that are a little bit more conducive to running and jumping and that kind of stuff. I mean, you can create there's a reason why they create guns and they don't just shoot bullets out of their fingers, because they still have to work within the physical confines of the rules of the physics of the universe kind of thing. So why are you not wearing fucking tennis shoes? It's one of those few, like, the first time I watched Miles Morales playing Spider-Man and he's wearing tennis shoes, I'm like, this 100% makes sense to me. Why was Spider-Man not always wearing tennis shoes? They feel like, I mean, some would say like he has the stuff that comes through or whatever. I don't know, but a lot of these people, they should be wearing athletic shoes. It makes sense for somebody that's doing all these running jumps and all that shit. So.
Especially as a teenage boy.
Anyways, so those were our thoughts on The Matrix 2. If you agreed or disagreed, feel free to let us know your thoughts. This was your favorite movie, and we shot it down with a 0 out of 3 because it got a.
God, if this was your favorite movie, do some fucking soul searching.
Hey, different strokes for different folks. We don't kink shame here. We might kink ask why, but that's a different stuff.
But we do shame your terrible opinions in movies. I stand by what I said.
That is Keith and Keith alone. If you're that person that's like, but I really like this movie, don't worry. We got you, pal. You can still join us. You're still welcome to join us in Matrix 3, and
just
don't worry.
Make sure you seek help because something's wrong with you.
Hey, man, like be nice to these people. They're taking time out of their day to listen to our ramblings, and really, it comes down to what the hell do we know, anyways? We're just 3 fucking people that decided to tell you all what we think about a movie. So, either way, I had a good time watching it and discussing it with you. I think it brought up some interesting conversational points, and we had some fun. I had some good laughs about it, so it was worthwhile in that sense, as it always is. This all makes it good in the end. But we will see you next time for The Matrix 3, which is Matrix Revolutions, I believe, where we close out the original trilogy for The Matrix.
Revelations.
I don't think it's Revelations.
I just looked it up. No, it is Revolutions. Okay.
You want a revolution? I want a revelation.
You want a revolution? I want a revelation.
The one we just watched, I think, was Matrix Self-Fellation?
Yep, there you go.
So for Screen Share and Chill, I'm Kelly.
I'm Keith.
I'm Jamie.
See you later.
Bye.
Don't imagine your life in bullet time or it's just going to take longer. Maybe that's what happens when you're at work. Everything just goes into bullet time when you're at work.
Maybe.
Everyone needs someone that'll tell them no, and that's what the Wachowskis were missing in this movie. So make sure in your life you have that person to tell you no.
And again, we
otherwise you get The Matrix 2.
Hey, whatever works for you. If being told no is what works for you, that's fine by me.
Dirty.
I'm going to call the police. You go ahead, call